And they don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming. Common Filth Radio episode 106, Common Filth Extra episode 34, available now. If I am doing my math correctly, there's not much math to do. This is the longest episode of Common Filth Extra to date. It's about an event that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time and finally got around to doing it. It's about Woodstock 99. I also talk about virtual reality love dolls from Japan. I also talk about the problem of the K-selected mindset. All of this and more in this special 79-minute edition of Common Filth Extra. It only costs you $1, $1 American dollar. Of course, you can pay more if you'd like to at commonfilthradio.bandcamp.com. Starting off this episode with an image sent to me by a friend of the show, Home Depot company policy. It says, Home Depot is committed to ensuring that associates work in an environment of mutual respect that is free of harassment on account of race, religious creed, national origin, ancestry, physical disability, mental disability, medical something, that part's cut off, pregnancy or perceived pregnancy, genetic information, marital status, gender identity, expression, age, sexual orientation. This is not a very surprising policy. Not a very surprising company policy. In fact, I'd wager that most large companies have a policy worded very similar to this. For all intents and purposes, it's the same. Go to any company, you'll find this kind of policy. We will document more proof of that in just a few moments here. Home Depot is just one of many. One in a large cluster of deviant promoting corporations. Tell me, what downside is there in ignoring the perverse whims and notions of penis envy cases, of vagina envy cases, of reprobates who, when looking at the member of the same sex as they are, they think to themselves that they'd like to consume their jizz or secretion or whatever. You know, maybe there's some fecal matter involved, who knows? But what downside is there in ignoring these people? Pretending that they don't even exist. You don't have to write their dysfunction into company policy. You don't have to protect their dysfunction in official company policy. What downside is there to it? You know, a lie I used to believe is that these freaks who think that they should have a vagina when they're born with a dick, and people whose ability to give life is directed towards that which cannot give it, that which they are attracted to is 100 to 0. 100 to 0. 100% to 0%. You're more likely to give birth to a virus, an exciting new disease that will give a lot of medical research towards, a lot of medical resources towards, because it's very important that we cure these diseases that were once thought to be eradicated since antiquity. Did you know that Michael Douglas got tongue cancer from eating too much vaginal secretion? Douglas told The Guardian that his type of cancer is caused by HPV transmitted by cunnilingus. There you have it. But getting back on track here. What downside is there in ignoring the insane notions, thoughts of crazy people? Crazy people who they have chromosomes, says one thing. They have a pair of genitalia that's compatible with only one other form of genitalia. A lie I used to believe, a lie that I've told on the show before, I really do regret it, is that these freaks only make up 3-4% of the population. A lie spread by the crazy K-selected type mindset who tells you there are more important problems as they molest your children. Ladies and gentlemen, the sex deviant makes up 60% of the population. If it were 3 or 4%, you could safely ignore it. 60% of the Western population, that is. And don't tell me that lie about, oh, this race is less likely to be. No. One race is good at lying. Well, technically, I'm not on the LGBT spectrum. I'm like pansexual. I'm like demisexual. I'm like panromantic. That's what they do. For example, here, if I may pull it up here. Where is it? All right, here we go. From BBC News, Chinese psychology books are comparing homosexuality with pedophilia and necrophilia. Well, I only hear Anglos, Westerners complaining about this comparison. I don't hear any Chinese people complaining about it. Again, where's the drawback? Where's the drawback in alienating these people, either intentionally or unintentionally? If not for the fact that these freaks do indeed make up 60+% of the Western population. Read a story last year. A silent cultural revolution is taking place, and it has had a great impact on me. From June 2015, New York Post. It says, a massive silent cultural revolution has changed America by Kyle Smith. I'll skip the part that's relevant to the discussion right here. It says, yet support for gay marriage is to be treated the same as straight ones went from 39% just 9 years ago to 60% today, according to Gallup. As recently as 2010, a clear majority opposed gay marriage. Today, a large majority support it. As for the broader issue of whether gay and lesbian relationships are even morally acceptable, only 40% said yes in 2001. Today, that number stands at 63%. Now, why would you sympathize with this lifestyle if you weren't doing some sick shit yourself? You find solidarity with these deviants. So there you have it. 63% and growing. I don't know what the number is right now. Can't imagine it's changed year over year. Well, over the last year, I've seen, people I thought I agreed with, people I thought were smart, capitulate to this bullshit. They think it's fine too now. They probably thought it was fine in the first place. They just paid some lip service to it, like, oh yeah, we're against that. But now it's, never mind. So 63% and growing. 63% and growing. 63% and growing. And here's a perfect visual metaphor for present-day Western civilization. Found this one on a Drudge Report today. Shadi Ismail, gets a kiss from boyfriend Ian Guthrie while washing dishes in their home in Boise, Idaho on Friday, September 9th, 2016. Ismail, a Syrian refugee, says about his new life in Boise. I didn't think I would be alive to experience life in the U.S. I wish everyone had what we have. What, AIDS? Despite resistance by Idaho's top political leaders, 118 Syrian refugees have moved to the Gem State, and one of them, at least one of them, is a sodomite. What a perfect visual, because there's like, you see Ishmael there at the sink with his fuck buddy behind him, giving him a kiss on the cheek. Wow, that doesn't make me sick or anything. In fact, they look just like you and me. Yeah, what a perfect digital metaphor. A white guy sucking a Syrian refugee's cock. And get this, if the link is still up on Drudge Report, the link says this: Syrian refugees flood Boise. I was there last year, so I clicked on it. Wow, okay. Yeah, that's something I'm interested in. So I clicked on it from McClatchydC.com. That's the first thing that pops up. The first thing in their photo set that pops up. These two queers. I wish everyone had what we have. Yeah, you do, which is why you stop at nothing. See, the mere tolerance of your bullshit, which just means leaving you alone, not causing you any trouble over it, that's not good enough for you. It never was. They're like, oh, we're tolerated now? Well, this isn't good enough. We need to be accepted. Oh, that's not good enough. Now we need to be celebrated, and on and on and on it goes. Now it's going to be mandatory. That's what it's going to be next. This is how these people think. They are wrong. They're doing something with themselves that should not be done. That is the underlying issue, and they will never, ever, ever address it. Which is why you see them going on these cultural campaigns in corporations, government, military, you name it, they're influencing it. They're infiltrating it because we, white people, we're the most morally apathetic fuckheads on the planet. In every Western nation, these people receive legal protections that normal people don't get. Corruption is their business. This is why so many of them take jobs as school teachers. And we all love schools because they take our kids away for 8 hours a day. Hey, I don't have to deal with them for half the waking hours. Cool. That's who they are. That's what they do. Corruption. Getting in position to get into position to turn homes against themselves. And the problem with the whites is that it's all very relative to us. Like, think about it. Somebody's like, oh, I was anti-gay until my kid came out to me, and now I go to parades. How many of us? That's another reason why 63% of us are like, oh yeah, that's fine. It's all relative to us. Oh, well, they're on our side, so no. Have some fucking principles. You don't care. Nobody does. You listen to any episode of the show I've done this year to find out just how odious the shit they pull is. But we like it. We like it. There's nothing we like more than going out of our way to make friends with deviants. It's like it used to be just a stuff white people like thing. Now it's a right-wing thing. I guess it really is white identity. So if you work for the Home Depot and you have your instincts intact, you realize that these people are poisonous. Their influence is bad. They are a drain on the soul to be around. If you work for Home Depot, just to name one, well, you won't have a job for much longer. Same thing with Chase Bank. And this story was written from Breitbart.com actually just a couple of days before this show debuted. From the 1st of July, 2014. Second employee alleges Chase Bank surveyed staff's LGBT loyalty. A second source has confirmed that JP Morgan Chase has asked each of its employees whether they are an ally of the LGBT community, which employees have taken as a veiled threat. Each year, JP Morgan Chase sends its employees a survey asking questions related to management and other non-controversial issues. A longtime Chase employee told Professor Robert George of Princeton that the survey this year included the following questions for the first time. The survey says, are you a person with disabilities, a person with children with disabilities, a person with a spouse, domestic partner with disabilities, a member of the LGBT community? Notice how it's always community. Wow, it's a great community you got there. It's never anything else. They're the only people allowed to have a community. And if we read Genesis 19 and Judges 19, we know how that community works out. We know what it turns into. An ally of the LGBT community, but not personally identifying as LGBT. Well, what's the difference? You're doing some sick shit in your private life, in the privacy of your own home. You're doing some really, really gross stuff that causes you to think like, wow, I have solidarity with these sex freaks. You know, if you're not already in denial about what you're doing. No, technically I don't. We love technicalities, don't we? This employee was alarmed to receive the final question. If he answered no, he feared he would be opened up to criticism that may affect his employment. Only a few months ago, Brendan H. was hounded out of the CEO role at Mozilla for not supporting LGBT marriage. Is that how you say it? H? Brendan H.? The employee told Professor George he fears for his job. The employee says, the survey wasn't anonymous. You had to enter your employee ID with the way things are going, and the fact that LGBT rights are being viewed as pretty much tantamount to the civil rights movement of the mid-50s to late 60s. Not selecting that opinion is essentially saying, I'm not an ally of civil rights, which is a vague way to say I'm a bigot. Well, own it. Own it. Own it. The worry among many of us is that those who didn't select that poorly placed irrelevant option will be placed on the you can fire these people first list. After posting the item on the law blog Mirror of Justice, Professor George received skeptical emails and Facebook postings, so he came back to Mirror of Justice with a second source. The source told him, I just wanted to confirm the Chase employee survey. It did have the last two options about being an LGBT ally. I have worked for Chase for a number of years and was blown away by this question. I have no idea what they were thinking when they asked that. If this is posted, please spare my identity. Breitbart News contacted the media relations office of JP Morgan Chase, and spokesman Loretta Russo said, we do not comment on internal surveys. It was some time ago when I first heard this said, that the corporation is replacing the nation state. They have far more pull on a culture, a nation's culture, than governments do. So if this is the case, we need to start treating corporations like nation states. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to get myself caught up in the realm of fantasy too much because, well, that's stupid. I'm not a politician. I don't have incredible amounts of wealth. I don't have a benefactor. Nothing like that. I'm one person. I'm one against hundreds of millions who look like me, but they don't act like me. They don't think like me. I'm sorry, but just the fact that we have a common ancestors is not good enough. Not good enough. I was talking to a friend. He says all these people who just say, oh, you don't have any solutions. Why? Am I in a position to enact them? And he said, you don't owe them. You don't owe them that. And he's right. If determining what's right from what's wrong isn't good enough for you, fuck off. If whatever you perceive to be the truth doesn't give you a sense of peace, a sense of fulfillment, well, then it's not really the truth. Is it now? Corporations are foreign belligerents. At least they need to be treated as such. And you're going to act like, oh, we need jobs, factory jobs. That's what's wrong with us. You do realize whatever jobs are going to come back to America, they're just going to give them to sodomites. They're going to get preferential treatment. There's nothing a corporation loves more than a deviant because they make for great consumers. They have constant crippling dread and insecurity. And the void that results from that, they think, can be filled with stuff. All kinds of stuff that they stick in every orifice. We need to backtrack a little bit and go back to the white queer with his Syrian rent boy. I wish everyone had what we have. I didn't think I would be alive to experience life in the U.S. I wish everyone had what we have. Of course it's in Idaho. Bunch of naive white fucks. You're like, oh well, I love my son no matter what. Even if he does get anally violated by a Syrian. And didn't rural Idaho just have some incident where a bunch of refugees raped a little kid? Didn't that just happen? Oh, as long as they had, well, if they had a white guy to suck their dicks, then they wouldn't have been like that. After all, love always wins. Love is never wrong. Love is never wrong. Polyamory. As far as I'm concerned, love doesn't exist anymore. And it shouldn't in the way that we define it. Because love, as how God defines it, well, it's a lot more functional than how Westerners define it. Come is come. Just every time a Westerner says love, just think about it. It's just substitute love. Like have a translator in your brain. And whenever you hear the word love out of a white person, a westernized individual, replace it with come and it'll make a lot more sense. It'll be a lot more honest. No one's capable of honesty. People who are honest, people who are truthful, they end up very hated. They'll find themselves without a career. But that always lit up my brain when I heard something direct, truthful. That brought me, it's a feeling you can't describe. It's almost like you're talking to God himself. That's how I react to the truth. You hear lies, you hear all these lies all throughout your life about this and that and the other thing. And once you hear something that runs counter to that, if you are an honest person, if you have a soul, you're excited by that. It fills all the right parts of your brain. Like, yes, this is what should be said. This is what should be done. And if the truth isn't good enough for you, well, you don't care about the truth. But I do. How about a follow-up from last week? The two individuals who overdosed on heroin with their child in the back seat. Mom, from the New York Post.com again, which I read their Coachella story, if you remember that. I'm convinced that the New York Post is the only place that's doing actual journalism these days. It's actually telling the truth. So, mom of heroin boy is a crack-smoking stripper. The stripper, mother of an Ohio boy, photographed in the back of an SUV with 2 adults passed out in the front from apparent heroin overdoses, admitted she smoked crack cocaine and said she bawled for 4 days straight when she saw the horrifying image, according to a report. I want my boy back, 25-year-old Reva McCullough. McCullough? Whatever. Yeah, is that an Irish name? Let's find out. Copy that. McCullough's surname. I'm using new headphones here, so if you hear that clicking sound, it's my headphones clicking on the pop filter here. Scotland. Okay, great. Another great bloodline from the British Isles there. Her reaction to the child neglect that drew condemnation across the country came as the 4-year-old has found a new home with his great aunt and great uncle in South Carolina, Columbiana County Court. Administrator Dane Walton told NBC News. His mother, Rhonda Pasick, 50, who was in the front passenger seat, had been granted custody of the boy only 6 weeks before she and her boyfriend... Okay, you're a 50-year-old woman, and you have a boyfriend. Great bloodline. Good job. That's some good trees bearing good fruit right there. So, grandmother, 50, has a boyfriend, was in the front passenger seat, had been granted custody of the boy only 6 weeks before she and her boyfriend, 47-year-old James Lee Accord, were arrested September 7th in East Liverpool. The Daily Mail tracked McCullough down at Tiffany Doll's A Jiggle Joint in the Youngtown suburb of North Lima, Ohio, where she dances under the stage name Mercedes. Ha! Clad in a G-string and a tiny black dress, the tattooed McCullough described her past drug abuse that led to her losing 2 of her 3 sons. And you're 25. I talked about populism on Common Filth Extra episode 34. Not at length, but just an observation. We are about 5 years removed from that shit show known as Occupy Wall Street. Only 5 years, half decade. Within living memory of most people. We all know how well that turned out, what kind of great, wonderful people Occupy Wall Street attracted. You know, how all their camps turned into all-you-can-rape buffets. These are the common people. These are the 99%. Mrs. McCullough, she's a part of the 99%. Again, barely removed from these shameful events in our history. And we think that what they're doing, yeah, that's fine. Populism, yeah, that's a great idea. This is, how do you think that Maury Povich, Jerry Springer, Steve Wilkos, how do you think all these guys stay in business? It's because this is what our culture produces. Trash like this. And it always has. Just a little more well publicized now. So, again, I'll read that sentence there. Clad in a G-string and a tiny black dress, the tattooed McCullough described her past drug abuse that led to her losing 2 of her 3 sons. I don't take drugs anymore. I haven't even had a drink all night, the East Palestine, Ohio woman told the paper. Ironically, I have never taken heroin. McCullough did admit to having abused crack and marijuana for years. Well, at least she's not taking heroin, am I right, guys? I made a lot of bad decisions in my life, she added. I just went wild when I was 18. I'm 18. I'll do what I want. I'm 18. I'm an adult. That means I'm an adult. I'll do whatever I want. In the image that exemplified the scourge of heroin, the boy was seen staring blankly as Pasick sat slumped and unconscious, a bra strap hanging down her arm as they passed out. Accord sat in the driver's seat. Was that Accord? I'm just call him Accord, like Honda Accord. Which, you know, is a good car. It's a good car. I like Hondas. Accord told cops he was taking Pasek to a hospital in East Liverpool about 3 p.m. September 7th. Off-duty cop Kevin Thompson pulled him over when he saw the vehicle moving erratically. The driver eventually went completely unconscious. Rhonda Pasek was completely unconscious and turning blue. Thompson wrote in his report, the Daily Mail reported. Pasek is being held on charges of endangering a child and public intoxication. Accord pleaded no context to operating a vehicle while intoxicated and endangering children. He is serving 360 days in jail. Oh, now on to Cider, which I guess is an affiliated website to the New York Post. Bang Gang shows off the dramatic side of teen orgies. We'll give that a read. Amid criticism for posting the image and showing the boy's face, the East Liverpool Police Department said it wanted to illustrate the dangers of the poison known as heroin. Well, dude, as long as we just give them a safe place to do it, it won't be a problem. You know, they'll overdose in a nice safe house somewhere in the Pacific Northwest instead of in a van. That's much better. Pasek's sister, who has custody of the boy's 3-year-old brother in Delaware, lashed out against the use of the image. They could have blurred his face and they didn't, and now they're taking him away from my sister. I'm not condoning what Rhonda done, but what they did to her and what they're doing to her grandson is too much. I'm not condoning it, but taking a picture of the kid, along with the two degenerates in the front seat, that's just too much, okay? Okay, that's just way over the line. Overdosing on heroin, that's not. That is sodomite logic. Genesis 19, again. Oh, you judge us lot? What? We're going to deal with you worse now. It's all, don't judge me. That's sodomite logic. And more than 63% have that as their life's motto. Don't judge, don't judge, don't judge. Public Safety Chief Brian Allen was unapologetic. Good, saying the reaction to the photo has been 90% positive, 10% negative. As a public official, I can't blur public records, and this photo is a public record, he added. Brian McCullough, an attorney representing the boy's maternal great-grandparents, told NBC News that the child is now with his great-aunt and great-uncle Lori and Terry Lane in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Pasek's sister said she and Pasek were raising the boys because Pasek's troubled son, Devon, 25, and his girlfriend couldn't manage. McCullough has a third boy with a different man. It's the old story, she said. No education, no jobs. My sister's fought for 2 years straight to get this child. During a custody battle, Pasek's 2008 conviction for public intoxication and a 2007 conviction for resisting arrest and disorderly conduct were brought up in court, her sister and Walton said. But I didn't know anything about heroin, Pasek's sister said. I met Accord and he seemed alright. I talked to Rhonda by phone the day she got arrested and she seemed fine. Great judge of character there. The judge who awarded custody of the boy to Pasek on July 25th told the Review, an East Liverpool paper, that there was never any indication she was involved in drugs. Had I known Pasek was unreliable, I certainly wouldn't have given her the child, Judge Thomas Baranzi said, or told the Review. The boy had been in the custody of his octogenarian great-grandparents, Dick and Barbara McCullough, who asked 2 years ago that he be transferred to their daughter and son-in-law, Lori and Terry Lane in South Carolina. The conduct of these parents is erratic at best and is certainly unreliable, Dick and Barbara McCullough wrote, the Daily Mail reported. But Rhonda Pasek objected and asked that she be given custody because she is financially, mentally, and emotionally able to look after him. Baranzi noted that there was no evidence that either her drinking or her diagnosed bipolar condition affected her ability to care for the boy, who was handed over to her July 25th. What an absolute clusterfuck. Page 6. Decider. This woman giving birth in a stream has been watched over 54 million. Why? NY Post. Eric Decker's wife celebrates his touchdown with risque reveal. She Snapchatted. It says, touchdown Big Dick Decker. What a classy lady there. Alright, so this is the link I clicked on here. Bang Gang, a modern love story. Again, a modern cum story. More honest. shows off the dramatic side of teen orgies. It's from the Decider.com, or Decider.com rather. Almost every teen film rests on the same premise. Wouldn't it be awesome if teenagers could just do whatever they want and get laid? It's a conceit that speaks directly to the rebellious teeny bopper, secretly hiding in all of us. However, Eva Hussen's 2015 French drama... Again, what the fuck is wrong with French people? I just read a review... No, not a review, a report about at some film festival, a horror cannibal movie directed by some French chick. At least I think she was. I looked her up. She's white. She directed some cannibal movie, and it was so disturbing that some people passed out watching it at the film festival. And here we go again. A French drama about teen gangbangs. Fuck France. I'm glad ISIS is having its way with you. So, it's Eva Hussen's 2015 French drama, which recently became available to stream, proves that your parents were right. Teenagers are dumb and irresponsible and should not be allowed to roam freely. Again, if you're new to the show, we just did an episode. A very lengthy segment about French filmmaking. One of France's most celebrated artistic figures, cinematic figures, Jean-Luc Godard. He's a pederast. He makes child porn. And the French are like, yeah, this is a very important part of our culture. And they also paid for some director to make a gay teen prostitution movie. This is bankrolled by French people. Whatever. Again, I know. Why does it matter, bro? There are more important things to worry about. Bang Gang, a modern love story, takes a look at the sex lives of a group of bored teenagers. When Alex's mom leaves him home, alone in the house for 9 months, Alex decides to really cash in on his newfound freedom. What starts out as wild parties and casual romps quickly devolves into organized sex parties filled with booze and drugs, quippily called bang gangs. Can't fault them for the good run. Things spiral even further from typical teen life when videos of these parties start appearing on a password-protected website. Remember how you can always trust the internet with your nude pics and sex tapes? Yeah, me neither. Well, Bang Gang does focus on a group of teens having all the sex. At its core, it's a drama about relationships. The film largely focuses on George and Letitia. Okay, well, that's a stupid-ass name. Two friends who are active participants in the parties. However, there's drama afoot. The sultry George becomes unhappy that Letitia slept with Alex and starts taking out her frustrations by instigating even more reckless behavior. Sexy reckless behavior. Bang Gang is actually a beautifully shot and interesting look at modern relationships. Though the movie collapses a bit in its final act, it serves as an emotional study that never rebukes its teen protagonists too sharply. Oh, don't judge him, bro. Don't judge him. However, nothing good can ever last, and that's especially true of secret underground teen orgies. It was never good to begin with. There's an internet leak, parents find out, STDs run wild. There's a pregnancy, it's a disaster. Though there are heavy repercussions for these sexcapades, there's never a finger-wagging or moralistic tone that implies these misfortunes were unjustly deserved. See, when I was laying into French people there, I thought, maybe this is just like some, it's a very roundabout morality tale of how not to be. No, it's like, well, they're people too, Deviants and sluts are people too. Thanks, France. It makes me feel really bad about all those terrorist attacks. Fuck you. The movie frames its final act more as a group of people who are forced to face the almost inevitable consequences of their actions. New York Post's Kyle Smith summed up the movie's portrayal of consequences well in his review. The orgies are ghastly, and these kids' connection to love and romance is being destroyed. A price must be paid. My takeaway: teenagers suck and they can't be trusted with anything, especially sex. Let the third act of Bang Gang be a warning to you. Awkward teen comedy heroes. If you actually achieve your goals and become the popular kid, horrible things will probably happen. Anyway, whether you're interested in this movie because you love French films, if you are, you probably rape kids, are passionate about awards circuit movies, or just want to see a movie about some teens having a ton of sex, Bang Gang, a modern love story, is available on streaming. And now it's recommending me that women giving birth in stream has been watched over 54 million times. Look, I'm pregnant, everyone. I'm giving birth. You gotta look at it now. You gotta look at it. You gotta look at it, bro. I'm not reading this. I've had enough. Smash it. Smash that mouse button. Okay, the question and comment thread. Okay, my phone's fully charged. I thought somebody was calling me. Question comment thread for Common Filth Radio, episode 106 on the official Common Filth subreddit, r/Common Filth. Join the conversation. Have a dialogue. Have a conversation. And in the text of the post, which is at the top of the subreddit, I said, keep it brief, keep it positive, emerge from your padded cell and pull out the Duplo blocks. Let's get happy because anything else is defeatist. First reply, gays are all right, to be quite honest. They are nice. I am nice. Alt-right is nice. Atheists are nice. Sin is nice. Jews are nice. Weed is nice. TV is nice. And we are all nice. Nothing bad is happening. Nothing bad could ever be happening. Everything is good. Everything good is gonna happen, and everything good is gonna happen to you. And nothing bad is gonna happen to you. And everyone's living. Just gotta live and let live, you know. That's it from me today. Well, thank you. Hey, CF, tell us about your taste in movies, music, and video. Because the prospective collapse of Western societies isn't fun to talk about. You know, I don't have I'm not like, oh, I'm really into horror movies or I'm really into insert genre movies here. That isn't me. I like to see anything. If it's well made, if it's done well, I'd like to go see that. In fact, I've seen a lot of good movies this year. The Neon Demon, Swiss Army Man, which I could talk a lot about. Green Room was excellent as well. The most recent movie that I've seen that I really, really liked was called Hell or High Water. Go see that. It's the best movie I've seen this year. I also really enjoyed War Dogs. I said on Twitter that it's the most anti-Semitic movie ever made, and yeah, I still think that. So yeah, that was a good movie. And for music and video games, look, it comes and goes. I don't like music as much as I used to. I don't like video games as much as I used to. There are periods of time where I'll play a lot of video games, but then I'll start feeling bad for myself and start feeling bad about what I'm doing. Like, I start feeling guilty. I think, like, what am I doing? I could be doing something productive right now. And then it stops for a while. But I was playing a lot of Morrowind recently. That's the last game I was really getting into. That was a couple months ago. And yeah, the perspective of collapse of Western societies isn't fun to talk about. I just don't like the way I make them feel. That's all. Drink of the day is water, by the way. I'm drinking it out of a disposable plastic cup. Very nice. Hey, CF, have you seen this? I'll put a warning for you and anyone reading because there's some gruesome imagery. It was a website that would show creepy images that would bait people online. 4chan was spurging out. They're pathetic and used it to deliver a pro-life message. I highly recommend you watch the whole video. Very good. It's called Bad Self-Eater. Yeah, I heard about this. It's I heard it was an alternate reality game, and yeah, the moderators of the subreddit freaked out because it was revealed to be having a pro-life message, an anti-abortion message. So, I mean, I'm glad somebody's putting forth some effort in delivering that to people who wouldn't otherwise hear it. But I hadn't heard of it up until you told me about it, so I will check it out in full at a different point in time. Salam CF, I'm having a bit of a problem that I don't know how to deal with. I'm hoping you can offer some advice. Well, I think I know what you're going for here. I mean, I don't have to read to know what it is, but I don't like to give advice in these very specific situations. Other than that, I hear it, I feel your pain. I don't know, because I haven't had to deal with it myself. But I'll read it because you took the time to write it. And if anything comes to mind, I will share my thoughts. I went to visit my mother last weekend. I usually go up to her house on weekends if I can manage to make it. I pulled up in front of the house and noticed a truck sitting in her driveway that I don't recognize. My mother's car is gone. So I walk inside a tad suspicious of what's going on, and honestly I wish I found a damn burglar or something instead of what I actually found. I walk in to see my recently turned 17-year-old younger sister, naked, waist down, getting eaten out by her Latina girlfriend in the living room. Needless to say, I flipped shit. I told the cunt to leave and that she wasn't welcome anymore, but she just sat there like a 5-year-old and stared at the ground. Wouldn't look at me. Speak. Nothing. After telling her it was time to leave several times, I finally start yelling, "Bitch, get the fuck out," until she finally walks out the front door. Well, yeah, I would have no idea how to deal with this shit, but you dealt with it fine. I'd tell her, "Bitch, get the fuck out," too. My sister tried to follow her, but I walked out after her and made her get back in the house. The image itself is enough to make me want to puke. Well, you know what, look, they're gonna die of tongue or throat cancer soon, so you know what, take comfort in that. Maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit there, but whatever. The image itself is enough to make me want to puke, but that's not what I'm wanting your advice on. I just miss the days when my sister wasn't a walking Tumblr post. She was never the best kid, but she was still a good kid when we were growing up. Blonde, curly-haired girl, believed in God, didn't do much wrong for the most part. I almost feel this is my fault, because I'm part of the reason she's living with our mother instead of our father, and I can guarantee this never would have happened if she stayed here. I ended up calling my mom about the issue. Yeah, single mother homes. Single parent homes, really. It's just another example of why they're horrible. I ended up calling my mom about the issue, and she just felt sorry that I had to see it. She tells me my sister is 17 and she's old enough to make her own decisions. Or what the fuck ever. I berated her. I know it's wrong to speak to my mother that way, but I couldn't hold it in. No, it's not. It's not wrong to berate somebody with the truth. You think she's old enough to make her own decisions when you never taught her how to make a good decision to begin with? Look at the decisions she makes. Look at who she hangs out with. Do you really think she's going anywhere good, etc.? I ended up going through her room later on, found a couple of pot pipes. Nice. Weed, dude. Bongs. And some sex toys she had in a book bag, as if she were trying to take them somewhere. Threw it all out. Basically, I just want my sister back, CF. I want the girl who had a semi-level head instead of the shit that she's pulling now. She's a whore, she's pansexual, or whatever the fuck new thing she's picked up. Started out as bi, then over the weekend she's implied that she was flat out gay. I don't know what she is anymore. She smokes pot, hangs out with the most disgusting friends you've ever met. Mental patients. Whores on a level far worse than she is. Other trannies and faggots and effeminate male friends who she also probably has slept with. Well, look, I hope this is all true and you're not just yanking my chain here, because this is one hell of a story. And one representative of where we are as a people. Alright, continuing. Where did I leave off? I don't know what to do. I spoke to a few religious friends and some religious leaders I respect, and they all told me that the prophets always started their message with the belief in God. See, that's the first mistake. Demons believe in God. Satan believes in God. Belief is secondary. God cares more about obedience. If you have doubts, God doesn't give a shit. Everybody has doubts. It's obedience. So continuing, they started with "stop doing X," people wouldn't have listened. I tried speaking to her, and the conversation ended with her declaring quite bluntly, "I like vagina. That's just how it is." Well, tell her, I hope you like tongue and throat cancer, bitch. You whore. You can leave out those parts. That's just what I'm feeling right now. I don't know what to do, CF. I'm hoping you can offer some advice. Seeing your family walk this path is gut-wrenching. Sorry for the long comment. Keep doing your thing, CF. May God bless you. And Tumblr hate you. Well, it's not Tumblr that hates me. It's not them at all. They live the change they want to see in the world. They live in their LGBT, whatever, XYZ safe spaces, and they don't really travel that much outside of it. Which is why very few of them have discovered my content. So, there's that. And you got this response here, which, wow, this is actually really good. And I'm going to read it. It's long, but I'm going to read it. From Hoy Bay. Mate, what I'm going to tell you is going to sound harsh, but I feel it needs to be said. You are several years late, and there's nothing you can do to change that. This doesn't mean that you should give up in trying to fix your sister, not at all. Just that the girl you used to know doesn't exist anymore, and you can't erase her past actions no matter how hard you try. I don't feel qualified to tell you exactly what to do since I haven't dealt with anything as destructive as this in my entire life, but as the brother of a now 16-year-old girl living with a single mother, I can tell you what I did to stop my sister from walking the same path as yours. I don't remember how it started, but I guess I'll go with the talks I had with my sister about homosexuality. We've always been really close. Not only because I'm the only man/father figure in the house, but because I'm the only young person she can talk openly with. Rough social life, had no friends at the time, and even now she just has a few. Anyway, out of nowhere, she became really curious about the topic, going on long tirades about yaoi, basically gay anime. The yaoi community? Anyway, out of nowhere, okay, I read that part, and constantly asking me about how I felt about sodomites or her being one. Being the oblivious asswipe I was at the time, I basically gave her the whatever as long as it doesn't hurt anybody, consenting adults shit, taking it lightly and jokingly, thinking to myself that she's young, she's my sister, I've also had questionable states of mind, but I have grown out of them unscathed. The fucking irony. She won't project this into real life, she's just curious, she isn't talking about herself, but boy, was I wrong. See, that's the thing. When girls are talking about something, it's something they want, some bullshit they want to do. It's if a girl's talking like that, it's about her. All right, so. But a few weeks later, Mom found out some Facebook conversations she had been having with some fucking dyke filling her head with garbage about loving her, like cumming her, and wanting to live with her when they were older. This disgusting whore was in high school, if it wasn't a fake identity, that is. Basically preying upon and exploiting her lack of human interaction besides me and my mom. Why she had a Facebook account despite being in middle school? Mom forced me to make her an account, and again, we were fucking idiots. The joys of single motherhood. Moving on, at first I couldn't believe it, but my heart sank and crashed when my sister said it to my face after asking her about it. Yeah, I love her, and I want her to be my girlfriend. Rage took control over my body. I repeatedly yelled at her, asking her what the fuck was she thinking. To what she eventually replied, "But you said it was okay." I felt destroyed. It was true. I said it was okay, but I never linked the mainstream social response towards degenerates with my own blood. Doesn't that reflect what I just said, that we have a problem? We have a problem with separating principle from those who are within our social sphere? It's true, we have a tough time rejecting things that are obviously destructive and unhealthy when our loved ones are engaging in it themselves. That's upsetting. Very, very upsetting. Continuing, I'll read that part again. But I never linked the mainstream social response towards degenerates with my own blood, nor devised a scenario where it partaked in it. Looking back, this must be the gut reaction CF talks about. I couldn't deal with what I had said. I didn't have the tools to disprove my own flawed logic, nor the power to handle my own destructive, ill-informed hypocrisy, so I resorted to the only thing I had at my disposal, her love. I told her that if she didn't snap the fuck out of that shit, she would be dead to me, and that she better not even look at my general direction, nor speak to me ever again, or I would not hold back my desire to kill her. Obviously, this was a ridiculous, empty threat, not only because one of my greatest fears is losing her, but because at that moment in my life, I only had enough strength to cry. Hear that mouse squeal. She was incredulous and unreactive at first, but as the days passed, removing myself entirely from her existence started to take its toll. Those girls keep bullying you at school, your entire class makes fun of you, everyone belittles you, nobody likes you, the only really close person you had doesn't even look you in the eye anymore. Well, tough shit, you chose to be a dead girl. A week after crying herself to sleep every night, she came back to me and begged for my forgiveness. She cut all ties with the internet and swore to never even suggest to be a lesbian or anything remotely like it, which I deeply thank God for, since I don't think I could have hold on to my distance any longer. We gave each other the strongest hug we've ever had, but I told her, what I said still stands, please do not force me to do this anymore. And to this day she hasn't, and I'm confident she won't. Since all this happened before I found Pull, and after its fall, common filth, but ultimately my renewed faith in God and my obedience to His word, using the light these things have given us, we have both waded through the cesspool that is the world at hand, reinforcing whatever faint conviction we had against perversion and turning us into walking blasphemy towards the great Satan. Now, I'm able to see that I had it easy, not only because my sister regarded me as someone important enough to follow me over her ill will, but because my mother and father, despite being now separated, were very close to us and always had their hearts more or less in the right place, trying their best to raise us as such, meaning that my intervention was swift and what had to be corrected was relatively minimal. So the only advice I can give you is that you involve yourself rather invasively into your sister's life. You have to make up for her lack of conscience and your mother's lack of judgment with pure and sheer willpower. Impose your will over them. Follow your sister like a cop and drive away all the bad influences from her life, just like you did with that carcass of a human being in your living room. Well, I wouldn't say I'm not going to read that part. And it will be needed, verbal, psychological, physical, whether it is to manhandle your sister back to her senses or to turbo destroy the scrawny fucks leading her away from the righteous path. Remember, God didn't come to bring peace and you won't get anywhere being nice or patient. As a side note, I would refrain from sending your message rooted on the belief in God alone. Your sister has already circumvented obedience through faith, and at this point it is meaningless to her. She is of the world, and the only things that will get through her are the worldly. So maybe focus on the undeniable natural facts of why and how her and similar behaviors are a burden both to those engaging in them and everyone else around them. Then build up God as the source of nature and therefore natural facts being God's law. Anyway, I hope this helps you in any way, and I'll pray that you succeed in taking your loved ones back into the light. Take care. Yeah, you can just say, like, you want tongue and throat cancer? There you go. There you have it. Shit is not meant to be eaten. Consumed. God helps. Last episode, you reminded me of the milk problem we face, and you're more than right about the lactose intolerant thing. Back in 2015 in November, I was half asleep on a biochemistry class somewhere in the back row, simply listening to our professor when she started rambling about calcium. For a moment, I got interested since protein intake was something I had to monitor in order to get gains and become strong. So she told us calcium is dangerous. Any percentage above the minimal needed amount can result in psychoactive behavior, severe depression, suicidal thoughts. This is due to the fact that calcium is an ion which is stored in the agranulated mitochondria, as well as used in neural activity. A high enough dosage, which is just about anything above needed, can cause massive mood problems. Once I got back home, I did a bit more research and found out that milk is a natural sedative. It's drank before sleep instead of taking sleeping pills for more docile and unchallenged sleep. Well, I knew that. I thought that was just warm milk though, but I'll avoid jumping to conclusions here. Once I found it out, I stopped drinking more than a glass of milk per month and noticed my mood improving, my will getting back to normal, etc., etc. I naturally explained this to my friends, both of which improved as well. One even finally decided on a sensible college after a year of being indecisive. What I've also noticed is that trannies and homosexuals have massive intakes of milk. One of whom I talked to even says he drinks up to 3 glasses of milk per day. In the end, lactose tolerance is our doom. So kids, drink milk, remain docile, and you will always be okay with faggotry. Don't forget to take your dairy on a daily basis, and you will always buy what the merchant sells. Hope this clears things up. Edit. I just spoke with a Polish Catholic who is a natural aristocrat. He said that the Old Testament is fake and not the Word of God. What a fucking piece of shit. And that the New Testament is about love. No, it's about come to him. I have no right to speak because I'm an Orthodox heretic and a very hateful person. He goes to a religious school where they teach them this. He says if there was a cure for homosexuality, he would take it. Well, the cure is to just not do it. It's very easy. Just don't fucking do it, you retard. Forget what I said, CF. It's not Slavs who are strong, it's the Eastern Church. Slavs are just as strong as their faith in Christ. Nuke us all. P.S. Jesus had 2 dads and he turned out all right. Chessmate. Oh, man. This is actually the first I've heard of calcium intake having this effect, so I'll withhold my conclusions here, but what do the kids say now? Big if true. Big if true. Yeah, if you're listening to this, please share some research that exists on the subject. I'd be very curious to look into it myself. See if people have published anything about it. Hey, CF, what's your opinion towards video games? Vidya, bruh, Vidya. I don't care. I play them. My mood comes and goes with regard to it. Like I said, I end up feeling guilty for playing them for any extended period of time. I snap out of it. I'm like, oh God, I should be doing something. I should be doing something productive. So look, I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with the medium. It's just like, don't get addicted to it. Don't take the moral messages that these games might have to heart, because most computer programmers, most of these people who work for development firms, studios, they're retarded. They don't get it. Ni hao, Comey Filth. What do you think of the Puritans? Personally, I think they get a bad rap, but I want to know your opinion on them. I've been asked this before, and I have not done any research on the matter of Puritans since then, so I think this is the exact quote that was in the reply to this. I don't really know much about them, so I don't have any strong opinions on them. I kind of hope he says something like this now. Well, it hasn't changed because I haven't done any research on the matter. So yeah, I am the same on the Puritans as I was when I was first asked about them. Hey CF, I really appreciate the advice you've given me over the last couple episodes. I also wanted to support the show, so I bought your discography on Bandcamp. Hey, thank you very much. I am the merchant, and it's good that you buy what I sell. I used to be a major left-winger, not really a libertarian, because I was just indoctrinated into leftism based on geographic educational indoctrination. My mom tries to raise me in a Catholic manner, and I rebelled because I was a dumbass 15-year-old, and that's what edgelord 15-year-olds do. From 15 to maybe until a couple years ago, I was a complete libertarian libtard. We were all there. Unfortunately, those of us who read Reason.com and read the Hit and Run blog, whoa, they blew my mind, bro. Yeah, fuck them. I thought everyone was allowed to do whatever they wanted because, it doesn't affect you. Libtard beliefs. The older I got, the more I realized my parents were right, and I, of course, was too proud to admit it. And when you're a kid, when you're in that developmental mindset, when you're in that young yachtness mindset, you think that you're just like the only person in the world, and that whatever you do, it doesn't affect anybody. You think you exist in a vacuum. And yeah, most 15-year-olds are like that. Most 15-year-olds are like that. All right, it's a matter of growing out of that mindset, which very few people have, it seems. Very few people have. The evidence is that there are a lot of people out there who are too old to have this mindset, who are too old to be saying, it doesn't affect you, nothing affects you, bro, it doesn't matter, nothing matters. Yes, personal conduct does not matter. Conduct, how you treat your fellow man, how you treat yourself doesn't matter. This is what they say. It's like, you think you can get away with doing all this dumb crap to yourself? Like you're gonna die. Like, oh, I'm gonna die after this. There's no life after 19. There's no life after 15. And then you realize, oh, wait, yeah, there is. My question is, when confronted by a libertarian who claims, oh, it doesn't affect you, blah, 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 what is a solid, legitimate response to their argument? Well, the argument is in the fact that it affected you enough to talk about it. Whatever it may be. So it does affect you, faggot. That's what you say to him. It does affect me. It affects you too. It affects you enough to talk about it and defend it by saying it doesn't affect you. Everything affects you. It's very simple. That's the argument. It affects them to say, oh, it doesn't affect you. They defend it. What you are saying, your reaction to whatever it may be, it affects them. So their response is completely hypocritical. Also, shout out to the other mods on Public Health Watch from Dr. Thundercock. You can say my username. It's one of a few. Okay. And then the responses you received here. Facts. Explain how society degrades. Explain how groups that lay claim to not affecting anyone always seek rights and privileges, which do affect everyone. If society accepts something that isn't normal, other degenerates take interest in that group and claim allegiance. Once enough numbers are garnered, that's when the requests start. Relevant reference, trannies. Another one says, it doesn't affect you is a misconception based on the false idea that an individual exists prior to society, and thus one can draw a dichotomy of public-private. point out that social organizations fundamentally shape human minds, and if they protest this, ask why they happen to grow up speaking English instead of Estonian, and that they always have. Literally every close primate we're related to has a social system that structures behavior. Denial of this is evolution denial, just like creationists. So individuals are socially constructed by the state, and that it is therefore impossible for the state to be neutral in regard to any individual behavior. Once he understands this, point out that between promoting homosexuality or discouraging it, there's clearly a superior option. I presume you know why that is since you're posting on this subreddit. That is an excellent, excellent comment. Both of them. Both of them. And yeah, I hope everybody listened to that. Concise, insightful, awesome. Shalom. Shalom on gefilte fish. I love it. Is this the end of days? No. I hate it when people are like, this is the end. The end is nigh. I hate it. I think if it were really the end of days, we'd know. There wouldn't be a gray area. We'd know it. It would look pretty bad. It would look like nothing like we've ever seen before. Not this gradual decline we're seeing right now. So no, I don't think we're in the end of days. I don't. I think when people claim that, it cheapens the idea of apocalypse. So, do you think if you became popular, they might pull a Scalia on you? No, because I don't lobby. I'm not a lobbyist to change government behavior. I'm pretty far away from politics. I comment on it every now and then, but you know what I advocate for is change at the personal, cultural level, the grassroots level. They're too stupid to realize that change can be had at a level that isn't the state. There's a reason why Jesus didn't he didn't manifest himself as a head of state. Much more effective to choose your people and say, all right, this is what we're going to do. Change hearts and minds at the most fundamental level. Much more effective that way, if it's going to have any effect at all. Do you like fast food? Yeah, I do. Chick-fil-A is my favorite. And Chick-fil-A is a sometimes food. Yeah, the response you had here is, he likes Taco Bell, so I'd say so. I'm losing my taste for it, actually. I like when the guy paid me to do the review of... No, that sounds wrong. We had a conversation. He's like, "Oh, I'll buy an episode of Common Filth Extra if you review the smothered burrito from Taco Bell." So I did. That happened on episode 100. And yeah, it was okay, but yeah, it's not, I don't know, it just doesn't hit me the right way anymore. It's like I'm getting, I'm not old, but, as years go by, your metabolism does slow and your body tells you that. It's like you're eating these very calorie-rich foods and your body says, no, less of this. So I listen to my body. I do. Are traps gay? Why are you asking this question? Are men pretending to be women gay? Do I have to answer that? I think you know. You know the truth. You know what it is. Did you ever have frosted tips? Is it time to bring them back? Yeah, I'm actually I'm in a boy band. Which, from what I understand, the boy-girl band thing, it was popular in America in the 90s. That's a thing in South Korea. It's not a thing in Best Korea, but it's a thing in South Korea. So, yeah, if you want frosted tips, just learn how to sing and dance a little bit, get some plastic surgery, and you'll be good to go. You'll be a Korean pop star. All hail Thor, our cum-drinking, cross-dressing Nordic overlord. Just kidding, throw him in the bog with the other faggots. No, that was Odin. But I get what you're saying. A couple of questions. A commenter in a recent episode talked about how acceptance of faggotry undermines social security and stability by making normal interactions and signs of affection between males impossible, or at least very difficult. Like the need to say no homo after complimenting another man. Because you have to absolutely make sure that it is not taken the wrong way. Yeah. We have to say it because we're not sure. It's like, we don't want that. We understand that that's a dysfunction. Those of us with our instincts intact. So yeah, it is we read the Social Matter article about it, that it is a moral hazard. That the acceptance of sodomy, it distorts social signals. Very dangerous. Continuing. But where would you draw the line between normal, healthy male bonding and faggotry? I guess it's clear that anything involving cum is sodomy, but what about non-sexual intimacy? Wait, what? Or semi-sexual, i.e. what can be sexual but isn't necessarily? What the hell are you talking about? I think it's pretty clear what's a sodomite behavior and what's not. Secondly, I try to follow the principle that I judge individuals individually and groups by their group characteristics, i.e., I'm not going to hate a nigger/Muslim if he's a decent person, but I still don't want thousands of them invading my country. But I don't really know how I can apply that to faggots. I know it's just not hypocritical, hypothetical and very unlikely, but do you think you could ever be friends with a gay man? Obviously not a flamboyant, effeminate, obvious faggot, but a reasonable, normal guy who doesn't base his existence around cummies, who just like stuff up his ass. No. Never have, never will. It was before this decade that I first found out about bug chasing. That was the seed of doubt planted in my mind. Because I'd never thought about this at all, really. The issue of sodomy and the acceptance, promotion, proliferation of it in society. Not something that came to mind. Not something I knew really anything about. Yeah, I've heard about gay people, but I didn't really think about what that implied. I didn't encounter any of it in my day-to-day life as a child, as a teenager. It wasn't an issue. I knew that some people were like, oh, gays' rights and this and that. I didn't give a fuck about that. Until I read this article on Something Awful of all places, where they do a feature where they take screenshots from weird internet forums, and one of the forums they featured was a forum called Bareback Exchange. A forum dedicated to bug chasing. If you don't know what bug chasing is, it's this practice where homosexual men give each other HIV on purpose, intentionally. They want it. They call it breeding, breed me, and then just go watch the I Stand With Orlando video on this channel. They call them AIDS babies, HIV babies. He lives on through you, pass it on. Sick. But I found out about this through this article about the Bareback Exchange and all these horrible screenshots contained within. So that was the first seed of doubt about this thing planted in my mind. Which stayed dormant until a couple years after that, is like 2009, 2010, when I first found out about the documentary called The Gift. A documentary about bug chasing. You know, the source of the funny haha standard fuck party meme. The source of that Ken Boy guy playing pool who's like, give me the bug, I want the bug. Haha, funny memes. You know, that's the problem. You repeat something over and over again, it loses all meaning. Well, let's get back to the meaning. These people are insane, dysfunctional. You don't want them in your life. There's a part of the documentary, The Gift, where one of the homos who has AIDS, he's all like, why can't we find an example? A guy who's attractive, successful, stays monogamous with one guy. We don't have one of them. We don't have one of those guys. There you have it. He would know better than anybody else, since that's all he knows. Those are all of his friends. That's his entire social sphere. His entire social sphere has a common thread running through it, and that common thread is sodomy, and he doesn't know any normal ones. So there you have it. And finally, I'll finish up here. I'll wrap it up. So yeah, that's why. It's like, I'm not going to go out of my way to like be friendly with these people. Not going to happen. Ever. And, it led me to this point. This project we have here today called Common Filth. Where we have found out together that 63% of people identify with this madness. I'm not a part of the 63%. Not going to be. since I see what that 63% sympathizes with. Not going to happen. And finally, a somewhat personal question, personal for me. I don't know what to do with my life. I just turned 24 and every option seems like a bad one. I'm enrolled in university but have no motivation to finish because I don't want to work in that field. Not in the US, so student debt isn't an issue if I drop out. Starting something completely new, different studies or trade school doesn't sound great either at 24. Just starting at a full-time job that doesn't require any qualification seems like a waste as well. And starting a business or some other project on my own isn't really something I feel capable of. I have many talents and interests, but not a particular one that stands out. I just have to decide. But seeing that all my past career choices were bad choices, I fear just doing the first random thing will turn out just bad as what I did before. Well, you got... well, first of all, cut your calcium consumption. Cut it out. If it's true. It's worth a try. That indecisiveness you feel, yeah. I was in the same boat as you. Fun fact, I started this project when I was 24. It's a tough age to be, but making a decision is better than making no decision at all, even if that decision is less than optimal. You as a man have to forge your own path, even if the initial path you take leads you into nothing. Well, you know what? If there's nothing but brush, deadwood, trees, there's no path there left, you have to create one. You have to have a single-minded focus is absolutely required regardless of what you do. It has to border on obsession. As men, we don't have a fallback. No one gives a fuck about us. We're disposable. It's up to us to make ourselves not disposable. In some way or another, we have to prove our worth. Okay, that might not be fair, might not be ideal, but that's what it is. I have a lot of sympathy for someone like you in your situation. I'm one of those people that's never quite satisfied with what I'm doing. It's never like, wow, this is so cool. My job rocks balls, bro. I'm never like that. And it seems like you have this mindset as well, or a very similar mindset. But you have to say, this is what I'm going to do, and do it. Adopt a single-minded, obsessed focus on whatever it is that's going to get you from point A to point B, whatever's going to get you off that starting line. Hey, CF, going to try to keep this short. Boss is sending me off to America for a 15-month contract in Virginia. I met some of my new colleagues from America recently, and one had a theory of basically women voting liberal and for open borders just because they are really disgusted of Asian/Mexican women. Hey, like me, right? I'm Chinese Aztec. Ni hao, amigos. Okay, so theory of basically women voting liberal and for open borders just because they are really disgusted of Asian/Mexican women, and I think they would look better in comparison if we had to choose between them and the migrant women. This does make sense to me because if we did not pick them, they could still settle for a tall and muscular foreigner, even if they were to be less attractive by their own account. Furthermore, you know how women usually would befriend a less attractive female just to stand out more and to look better in comparison. When I was on a contract in the UK, I have seen such occurrences. British women tend to delude themselves and seem to think that only by the virtue of them being white, they are more attractive than their Asian friends. Are we talking... No, never mind, because I know that in the British Isles they call Asians Orientals and they call Arabs Asian. Okay, a lot of them are fat, unkempt, and have a bigger ego than they should, really. In a way, doesn't that make white women bigger racists than those they accuse of racism, if this theory is to be correct? Hope you're alright, CF. God bless. I think it's a bit more simple than that, to be honest with you. I think it's simple. Their in-group seems weak. So by default, they think like, well, if we introduce some competition to the present in-group that is the dominant group in society, well, we'll see if they end up stronger so I could go join them. That's what I think it is, really. If they look better in comparison to Asian/Mexican women, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Since most Asian women and Mexican women I see, they don't carry themselves like they have a permanent, perpetual case of penis envy. Which I understand, carrying yourself like that is attractive to a lot of white men because they're all fucked up sexually, but not all of them. So introducing more women to your society that actually carry themselves like women, it doesn't seem to be too. I don't see the benefit for white women in that respect. And I don't need to say not all. You know what I'm talking about. So I don't think I agree with that theory. I mean, I see where they're coming from, but if I think about it, it doesn't seem to hold up. But not something I think too much about. Just giving my the knee-jerk feel for it. I need more water. I'm drinking out of this disposable beer cup with German shit written all over it. Spaten Munchen. 1397. That's, what the hell is their logo doing on a plastic cup? Anyway, what does it say? Wait, what's this? Oh, an ExoJane article. We haven't heard from them in a while. I'm child-free and just had my tubes tied, and it's the most sexually empowering thing I've ever done. Sterilization is Sexy by Annabelle Bernard Fournier. Well, that is just... See, look, slave to vice, slave to cum, that's empowerment, that's freedom. Motherless babies possible as scientists create live offspring without need for a female egg. Maybe we are living in the end of days. I made this observation. It seems that most medical research is done to placate queer insecurity. We'll show those breeders. We can breed too. ACF Serb here. While I agree that most Westerners in Europe are paused, but the Muslim migrants aren't any better. They rape children, including little boys. Cases like the horrible betrayal of 1,400 children in Rotterdam, etc. You'll say they are better than the Western sodomites. Please explain. Well, when did I say one is better than the other? Maybe I said that. Maybe it sounded like I said that. They're a solution to Western sodomites. I don't see Saudi Arabia promoting gay rights abroad. I don't see Qatar doing it. I don't see Iran doing it. Also, 2 weeks ago, I got an ear infection, and just as it started to get better, I tear an entire toenail off my foot and get a viral infection with almost 104 temperature and intense coughing. Why does God let this happen? Perhaps God would have mercy on you if you ceased rationalizing the export of depravity by Western societies. That's all. To insert foreign honorific here, Filth. Your last radio show asked why degeneracy is so common in Britain in general and England specifically. Setting aside possible genetic factors, a very good answer is Anglicanism, a religious denomination founded by a king. To get a divorce is going to have problems, and Anglicanism's critical one is called latitudinarianism, which, while only named in the 17th century and always officially opposed, was basically there from the beginning and never went away. It's basically an attitude in its believer where they believed in conforming to official Church of England practices, but who felt that matters of doctrine, liturgical practice, and ecclesiastical organization were of relatively little importance. Wonderful. This sort of thing was probably inevitable considering that objectively they were of little importance. Henry VIII did not start this church out of actual disagreement on any serious theology after all. Oi, bruv, you won't let me get a divorce. Quit divorce shaming, bruv. Tolerance of pause eventually became acceptance of it. Yeah, it goes from tolerance. Okay, it's this. Rejection. But that's an ism. That's an ick. Phobic. That's a phobia. Goes from rejection to tolerance to acceptance to celebration to promotion. I guess that's a part of the celebration, but yeah, you understand. Unless you aren't rejecting, you're accepting. You're celebrating. If you're not rejecting, you're celebrating. If you're not rejecting, you're celebrating. It's a good one. I just thought of that. Tolerance of pause eventually became acceptance of it, especially when the near anarchy caused by the English Civil War and its fallout allowed for the creation of some of the more fucked up apocalyptic splinter sects in Christian history. A good portion of their adherents later fled to New England and survived, explaining why America is so paused as well. Yeah, deist traitors, the founding fathers were. And their theological descendants were reimported later thanks to the USA-UK special relationship. The ranters are my favorite of these Civil War crazies, being self-admitted pantheistic antinomianists. They believed, like the later Frankist Jews, that they had a moral obligation to commit sins to demonstrate that they were freed from moral law by divine grace. It got so bad that they inspired the Rump Parliament legislation against adultery, swearing, and blasphemy in 1650. Even the Diggers, who were Christian communists, forcefully denounced them. All this insanity never really went away permanently thanks to the aforementioned latitudinarianism, and eventually resurfaced in the age of liberalism. I advise you look at the Wikipedia list of English dissenters, as these groups were called, and see the full extent of the madness. It starts with theological nudism, the Adamites, and spirals down alphabetically from there. You'll see plenty of antecedents of modern pause. We all know about how historically prosperity leads to decadence, but anarchy is even worse. England's weak church meant they never spiritually recovered from their civil war. Best regards. Great comment. I learned a lot here. It is excellent. And I know this sounds bad, but it was introducing Christianity to Anglos. Was it a mistake? Reading something like this makes me think that it is. It's like, this is what pisses me off about people who are like, whites made Christianity great. Whites made Christianity great. No, you made it into this. A shit show. Where people say, we have a moral obligation to commit sins. Because we're freed from moral law by divine grace. And that's not to mention the how whites have turned Christianity into a consumerist shit show from which it is unlikely to ever recover. It's awful. Konnichiwa, Filth-sama. I listened to episode 3 of Common Filth. Someone asked you a question about homosexuality and you said hopefully that will be the last one. Was that 2 or 3? Yeah, I was interested in other things. I was interested in talking about other things, but the more I would post shit on Tumblristas, because I still did that back then, the Facebook page, and it would be something making a sodomite look how they really are. It'd be like, oh my god, you're so homophobic. You're a homophobic. Every day. Every day I'd be called a homophobic piece of this. Wow, how do you judge them? Wow, just wow. Because I got a lot of normal people on that page for some reason. That's why I don't really post there anymore. But yeah, that was the inspiration, and just seeing the acceptance of sodomy encroach on the internet right wing. They started to accept that. That was another thing that really pissed me off. Which is why I kept talking about it, exposing it for what it is, documenting it for what it is. And yeah, here we are. I wanted to talk about other things, but circumstances forced my hand. You can't go quietly. Sorry how it turned out, but you do a service all the same. So I read a bit of Pimp by Iceberg Slim. Why do you think women stay in abusive relationships? My mom is in one now and was always been in one as I grew up. I know my just has a low IQ and an easily manipulated low self-esteem. Oh, your mom just has a low IQ and easily manipulates low self-esteem. But so many women just seem so eager to throw themselves under a bus for a complete bum. Yeah, that reminds me of a tweet I just saw. Women will say that they're sapiosexual and then get knocked up by a fry cook with J. Cole lyrics in his Twitter biography. I gotta be honest, that first chapter of Pimp by Iceberg Slim struck close to home and brought salty bitch tears to my eyes. Pimp changed me. Pimp showed me where my life was headed. Depravity and hard-heartedness. I was on the path to being a malevolent bum. Yeah. Pimp by Iceberg Slim. People, that I would say that's essential reading. I listened to the audiobook version of it some time ago. Actually, this comment will probably inspire me to do it again. It is a fascinating look into the world of pimping and how men get to that point, how women get to that point. It is just a really, really upsetting book. But I'd say it's essential reading. If high schools were interested in teaching students the truth, that would be required reading. Not all this other bullshit. Read this book. Oh, it's important because, like all the books they have you read in high school are shit. Horrible. Horrible. It's like, I didn't know that writing could be informative, entertaining, insightful until I started reading books which fit my interests. And then I was like, wow, books are cool. I still don't read that much, but damn. You know, time spent doing this is time I could be spent reading, but yeah, I like reading a lot more now. And it has to be that what they assigned to you in high school, it has to be designed to get you disinterested in reading. That has to be it. And pimp, if you really want to get to the truth of men, women, what depravity does, what child abuse does, what single mothers do, what they create. Yeah, of course they don't. Of course they wouldn't assign pimp to high schoolers. It's too honest. Too on the nose, too real. How do you feel about the Queen James Bible, quote-unquote Bible, in which sodomites removed all the homophobia from the Bible and adding in pro-gay shit and edited Jesus' words too? You know what? I should start my own Bible translation. The 21st Century Parody World Antidote translation, which stops. Yeah, never mind. That's bad. I wouldn't do that. I'm not saying you or any of the Protestants on this channel, but some Protestants I have met mainly through family friends and such have bitched at me. Oh, boo-hoo, my Middle Evil Ages Catholic Church killing people for making their own versions of the Bible. My Inquisition, my Catholics being mean to Nordic pagans who are pillaging and raping and enslaving Christians, etc. The Queen James Bible is little proof on why the modernist Christian beliefs on let people believe what they want, mainly stemming from some Anglo-Protestant sects that did have good intentions, but in practice it just made things shit and helped create this bullshit modernist Christianity. I do agree with you, though, on spreading Christianity to England was a mistake because they not only contaminated their own church, they contaminated everyone else's. On a side note, I do now somewhat feel St. Peter's anger with the heretics that he wrote about where they believed that Jesus was a magic ghost and other bullshit, but also one last point going back. I wish to make that Bergoglio is trying to pander to the medieval Middle Ages, quote-unquote Christians / Jesus was a hippie Christians by saying shit like killing / violence of any kind in the name of God is satanic and against God's word. And he also denounced every evil action the church did. And no, I am not a crusader fag or anything, but the way he worded his speech was very clear, is pandering to the Jesus was a peaceful hippie crowd. Also to add on, since, what is this? Waj Tyla, John Paul II, they have been having Hindus and other religions from the Far East perform rituals in the Sistine Chapel, as well as doing masses forbidden by popes before Vatican II, like the tango masses. Imagine a Catholic mass, but having people doing the tango too, for having nothing to do with the religion and just for show, etc. Also, Bergoglio is removing Catholic traditions too that have been with the church since the beginning, like, seriously, fuck him and may he burn in hell. He will. He will, God knows him. We know him. It's not like some hidden thing that only God knows about. We know it, we could see it. Bergoglio is Satan. He is of Satan. That's it. Fact of the matter. Personally, I have my suspicions that Bergoglio is the false prophet talked about in Revelations, to be honest, but what do you think? See, look, I want to avoid that. I want to avoid, like, it's the end times. Cheapens it. It's like, if it really were the end times, we'd know. Anyways, thanks for reading, and God bless. Sorry for the rant, too. I'm a bit tired and thinking about what modernists did to my religion pisses me off really bad. Hey? Amen. Amen. Just a quick question, now that you made available a sticker that is about Caucasian women and their canine interests, I think you should complement it with another sticker that reads, "It doesn't affect you," or hashtag "It doesn't affect you." If you'd rather stick to the hashtag motif, nothing else at the moment. Stay true to your Latino-Semitic roots. Yeah, I will do. I have another design in mind that I do plan on introducing at some point in the future. It has nothing to do with those, but thank you for the suggestions. I think these next designs, well, that's just one. This next design, I think you'll like it a lot. I think it'll be a lot less inflammatory, a lot more relevant to what we're doing here, rather than just something designed to piss people off. Next, cannot believe this. Two of my coworkers are sitting here saying, "Why can't everyone leave Michael Jackson alone?" in reference to the recent child porn collection discovery. Other quotes are things like, "You gonna let him molest you for how long and then speak up about it? You probably liked it. Why bring it to the news unless you want money and attention? Just let the man move on with his life, let the kids move on with theirs." Well, Michael Jackson is dead. Whatever he did or didn't do, he's dead. My question is, how long until the barbarians arrive at the gates? I'm ready to watch his country die from the inside. Can't say. Can't say. Some would argue that the barbarians are already here and doing what they're doing. Just at a slow trickle. Not everybody is there yet. Not everybody has walked through the broken gates yet. But I will say about Michael Jackson, the recent allegations against him were pretty dubious. And that Razor Fist guy, the Rageaholic, he did a really good video on called the Michael Jackson rebuttal. Pretty convincing. Convincing enough for me to say that, maybe the allegations against Michael Jackson were just a bit overblown. Maybe, just slightly. Look, you can decide for yourself, but yeah, check out that video. Consider the evidence and make a decision. Why, my good sir, that is indeed not a friendly exchange of teasing remarks, and I'm afraid that you must be incarcerated into a government penitentiary. Oi, bruv. Or should I say, oh gosh, brother. Hello, CF, I only have one topic I'd like to talk about. Please go to church if you still don't attend one. I know you have problems with all the denominations, but the Lord wants you to go to church. Despite what it seems, not all churches have given in to the sin of the world. There are still good churches that follow the Bible/God's law, especially in America. I say this not out of bad intentions, but for the better of your spirit for Christian fellowship. I personally find talking to people of the faith in the flesh far more fruitful and good for my soul. And that's outside of the church. The only reason I don't attend is because my sinful, ungodly parents would throw me into the gutter if they found out I was Christian. Oh boy. I'm sorry to hear that. And I still have to get my hands on a physical Bible and find a career in order to leave them and find a true church of God. All you have to do is search up churches near you and investigate whether or not they are true followers of Christ or simple feel-good Christians that have no problem with readjusting the Bible. And if all the churches in your area are corrupt, then you should probably move. Not immediately, but at some point perhaps. Go to flyover country, as you say. Well, that's what they say. That's their term. I wouldn't call it that. I think those places are like Idaho. I like Idaho. Some people would consider that flyover country, but, it's a nice place. Unfortunately, it's falling prey to everything else. Falling prey to everything else. That, it's like they're no different. What everybody else has fallen prey to, they too are falling prey to. And I'm leaning back right now because it's upsetting. It's upsetting to think about. All right. Back. I'd also like to ask, do you pray any specific prayers? For example, the Lord's Prayer, the Rosary, or the Jesus Prayer, etc. Or do you just ask what's on your mind and in your own words? Next to the desk, you use to write world peace scripts. JK, just bants. Please no jail. Speaking of world peace, it seems that this was the last episode of the season, and oh boy, did it deliver. Actually, it was tonight, wasn't it? Which I missed, unfortunately. I hope God allows us at least a second season. What are your thoughts on the whole project and any favorite skits/episodes? Anyway, stay woke, CF, and I hope you find a good church so that you may become closer to God on your journey. P.S. Yo, it's 2016, and if you're not cool with homosexuals in your school, teaching your kids about butt sex, boom. My favorite world peace segments were the wall show. That was really funny. And I also like the coffee table thing. That was great. And the killing Mark Zuckerberg thing was good too. But yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that about your parents. Well, they're gonna burn in hell. That's unfortunate, but, well, as you sow, so shall you blank. No, don't do that. Buenos dias, CF. How do you propose our innate biological rejection of pause be reawakened? Contrary to what it might seem, the majority of human beings are not born with an overwhelming inclination towards QT dick girls. Yes, even that subhuman tranny-proud Anglo-Saxon quarter hoe was, at some point, a functioning individual with the potential to lead a virtuous, God-fearing life. I'm not of the school of thought that decrees every bad fruit born of every bad tree need necessarily remain bad for the entirety of its existence. Really, the fact that huge overarching institutions and systems are required in order to indoctrinate most folks into these depraved mindsets really speaks to the resilience of our God-endowed souls. Pause, as in P-O-Z, for the people listening at home, doesn't come naturally, even if certain races, 105 IQ Ubermensch, may be more inclined to buy hook-nosed merchant wares. With all that said, I'm honestly at a loss as to how achieve the ends of encouraging folks to explore their guttural reactions to degeneracy. Simply stating these truths outright may land you in a jail cell. Oi, bro, that's right homophobic, isn't it, mate? And pointing them towards a church is becoming less and less desirable the more corruption takes root. Even folks like you don't have much appeal to anyone beyond the previously converted or fence-sitters. Yeah, I've said that. I realize that in the grand scheme of things, God's judgment upon these lost souls will make any of my anxiety over the state of the world irrelevant. Even so, it's difficult to understand your role in his plan and come to terms with the fact that perhaps we're shit out of luck. Well, look, a common comment that I hear is like, oh, you don't want to make life better on Earth. No, I actually do. You see, nobody ever reached God through sodomy. That just doesn't happen. Sodomites are inherently treacherous and anti-God. Nothing they do leads a soul to obey God's law. Nothing. What they do on Earth creates horrible conditions on Earth. Conditions that make it impossible for souls to obey God's law. Remove their influence and you've cleared a very, very large obstacle that exists here in the world. You make the world a better place if you cease their ability to influence. You know, people always want at me, well, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Obey God's law. It's that simple. And you will receive blessings in this life for doing so. That's life on Earth. That's life on Earth being made better. Oh, but that's too hard, am I right? That's too hard. What can I actually do? Oh, you want to vote for something? You want to check a fucking box off on a ballot box? Fuck you. I wrote an X on a ballot and stuffed it in a slot. Yeah, that's doing something. Get bent. Where did I leave off? As a side note, you once mentioned having a distaste for large cities and the ilk that dwell within them. After moving to attend university, I could safely say your assertions were entirely understated. Everyone I've met here has either been disconcertingly miserable or infuriatingly depraved. This ain't a place for the devout, so I don't plan on sticking around here any longer than I have to. Fair tidings, CF, you the real gorilla dick nigga, my man. Godspeed. I don't know if I want to be that, but thanks, I suppose. Yeah, humans were not meant to live that way. They were not meant to live like rats in a cage, despite all their rage. That's what they are. And that's why so many of them end up communists. That's why so many of them are these crazies who have the craziest ideas about how things should be. And really, to some extent, who could blame them? Well, you can blame them. You really could blame them because they've they brought themselves into that circumstance. You know, you live in a nice place where you have room to breathe, where you're not people on top of people, cars bumper to bumper, all hours of every day. You know, the only time of day you can leave is when everything's closed and the freaks come out, which is why they probably become freaks, because that's the only time of day where you could breathe, and it just so happens to be the same time of day where you can. No, never mind. We're not going to get that dark right now. So, yeah, huge cities, big cities are just, yeah, they're no place to be. And anybody who wants to live in one, question that. You just keep them at arm's length. If your arm happens to be 100 miles long. All right, do a little bit more time. Yes, no, maybe so. All right, we'll do, I posted a link to my Ask FM account, which I don't really do anymore on my Twitter a number of weeks back, so I'll I'll read them. This won't take that long. What's your favorite video game? See, I don't have one anymore. It used to be the first WarioWare game. I really liked that, but I haven't played that in a while, so I don't think I could call it my favorite, but I really enjoy it. Back in the day, you seemed to be semi-active in the NRX/alt-right scene. What made you decide to take the stance you have now versus trying to prove the negativity you saw coming about in the movement? Well, because it doesn't belong to me. In fact, the term alt-right was founded by a real piece of shit. So it's like, if you have poisonous roots, you're going to get a poisonous fruit. So, yeah. It's like, look, I have a lot of friends in that who are into all that, but it's not something I want to be a part of. Because you know what? Eventually it's going to go away. And you know what? I don't want to go down with the sinking ship, because it will sink eventually. Do you still align with any neo-reactionary principles, or have you moved on entirely? Again, I like a lot of what these people have to say. I think a lot of their commentary is spot on. Their assessments on society, spot on. So I like a lot of what they write about, but it's just like it's attracted to too much riffraff. Like, not one or the other. It doesn't matter. It's not something I want to be a part of. That's it. I noticed some of your followers and some of the people you retweet are, in fact, make mud people. Wait, what? Make mud people? What does that mean? Why is that? Because I like what they have to say. That's simple as that. Do you believe the white race will ever be saved from degeneracy? Not by its own efforts. Nah, not at all. Hey, CF, big fan. Have you ever thought of making a collab with True Capitalist Radio? I don't really collab with too many people, but, you know, if they like what I do, if they're cool with me, I'm cool with them. What the fuck is up with those bumper stickers? Well, they're not just bumper stickers. You can put them anywhere you want. Like I said, you put it on your guitar case. You can put it on a stop sign. You can put it, no, don't do that. See, I was about to say elementary school jokingly, but some people might take that seriously. But, yeah, they're just inflammatory. That's it. Do you prefer any particular Christian denomination? No. Do you visit 4chan in particular pole at all? No. What do you think of Buddhism? I think it's satanic. What do you think about Pastor Steven Anderson? I think he's all right. From the few things I've seen from him, I like what he has to say. Do you think the work you're doing will lead to some other opportunity? Will you quietly conclude it and do something quiet? Do you have to hide your CF work from people outside your family? Well, I won't tell you who knows about it, but not too much of my family knows about it. I'll say that. Any more ideas for bumper stickers? Hashtag White Girls Fuck Dogs was a great one. Yeah, I agree, and you can buy one or more today. $3 plus shipping and handling. International shipping is available. Got that plug out of the way. Yeah, there is another design, like I said, in the pipeline that will be released at some point in the near future, so keep an eye out for that. I think it's much better than this one, actually. As good as this design was, I think the next one is even better. Has the content you've researched tempted you? Have you been mentally or physically reactive of the content? Thank you. Keep fighting the good fight. Oh yeah, I'm a bareback pause pig now. Pause me, breed me. I'm all about that now. But yeah, that's how it works. All these white kids who watch Jewish movies and are like, oh, You closeted homophobes. That's a thing? Oh, okay. That happens at TV show? Yeah, that happens in real life. The merchant sells the goyim by. Always. Like, how does that work? You say, I don't like cabbage. But then you secretly do like cabbage? It's ridiculous. And then the counter argument to that, which is just as absurd, is like, well, if you talked about not liking cabbage all the time, yeah. Well, yeah, it's not a problem, is it? But the issue of sodomy is prevalent in society. There are cartoons, mainstream television shows with sympathetic sodomite characters. It's a problem. Prevalent. Everyone accepts it. 63% and growing and counting. The acceptance of it is mainstream. The promotion of it is mainstream. It is a problem. It needs to be addressed. It needs to be attacked constantly. We know. I know. I'm the only one who recognizes it for the problem that it is. There are bigger problems, bro. Now that just means you're going to undermine any effort any of us make to address the problem, to fight it, to solve it. That's all that means. And that is all I have for you, except for these plugs. Of course, Common Filth Extra, episode 34, available now. Check it out, $1 or more if you'd like to pay more, if you're nice. And I don't mind nice. I don't mind people pledging a little bit more, but $1, that's all it is. And of course, White Girls Fuck Dogs stickers available now. You can put them on your bumper. If you don't want it on your car, you can put it on somebody else's car. You could, well, no, don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, you can put it anywhere you want. Those are $3 plus shipping and handling. International shipping, of course, is available. If you buy off of Amazon.com, American Amazon, click on the referral link below before making your purchases. You click on that link below, it sends you to the homepage, and you search for your item, add to your cart, check out. Within 24 hours of clicking that link, I get a percentage of whatever you buy at no extra cost to you. And that makes me happy. It makes you happy. It gives you the warm fuzzies, whatever. Anyway, this has been Common Filth Radio, episode 106. Thank you very much for listening, and I will talk to you later.